middle.
Hi everybody, Russ and my Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. Videos going up daily, sometimes 2-3 times a day. Loads of great fans. We're in a different venue. I'm just going to spin my my webcam around so you can see. Yeah. We're doing it. We're doing it at the London Stadium. There we go. And we're with Gary Stewart. Hi Gary, how are you?
I'm very well, Ross. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. How's lockdown treating you?
Well, we've been busy actually, Russ, because I work in school meals. I'm a caterer, so we've been on the front line feeding kids whose parents are probably on the front line working in hospitals and other emergency services. And so yeah, we've been really reasonably busy. Yeah, it's been a busy time.
Yeah, I can imagine so. I mean, schools technically break up this week, don't they? I think.
Yeah, some today and some next Tuesday, and some are going to be working all the way through.
Oh wow!
Because again, we still got to feed those workers, kids, because if the kid and some of the kids are going to still come to school and do games and football and things like that. So that's how it's going to pan out.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, isn't it? And obviously, it's a great thing you're doing in terms of providing those for the carers and stuff as well, the frontliners. It's a brilliant thing. So, thank you, Gary. Thank you for feeding the kids. Good. So the first question I always ask everyone is whether it's a player or whether it's a fan, is why West Ham? Why is it your club, Gary? I'm not detecting a Cockney twang in your accent. That's why.
You're absolutely not. I've got no connection. I've got no dad influence, no grandparents, absolutely nothing. And I kind of feel that West Ham picked me, Russ, rather than the other way around. I watched the 66 World Cup.
Yeah.
My mum gave me some memorabilia. Obviously, Bobby Moore was my hero from that. And I followed them back to West Ham. I had no idea where the East End was. I had no idea about anything apart from I just wanted to be a West Ham fan. And, I had this fabulous kit. I was the only kid in school. My mum had to search for it. You couldn't buy those kind of things in East Lancashire. You can tell with my accent. And yeah, I kind of picked the team from there. And the only West Ham family I've got is the hundreds and hundreds of fantastic people that I've met. And I've got this massive West Ham family. Yeah. Northern Hammers, the Northern Hammers Club, Scandinavian Hammers, and then when the internet started, Upton Park Life brought me lots of new friends. So the internet's been fantastic. But in the early days, the only thing I ever got was a little snippet in the back of the Daily Mirror was either West Ham won or got beat.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Fantastic. And you're right. I mean, it's the whole community, the whole West Ham family, even more so has been exemplified in the last 4 months, isn't it, really? Because everyone seems to have kept the banter going and kept everyone's spirits up, particularly with no live football, but just in general. A lot of people are on their own or housebound. And as you said, people like the Upton Park Life and all the Facebook groups that West Ham do and the Twitter stuff. It's brilliant. It's lovely to see.
Yeah, and tonight I'm scheduled in with some of the Stop Hammer guys and different people, and we'll watch the game by Zoom. We'll have a beer together, and there's a bit of banter, and it feels like you're at the game. It's as close as we're going to get to it. So.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I'm the same. I've been invited. I've had about three Zoom invites, 2 YouTube watch-alongs, and I try and dip in. So if we're winning, I'll be dipping in more often. But if I'm not, I don't go in there at all. So we're hoping. So hopefully I'll be dipping in quite a lot today. I'm very confident about today's result, but we won't talk about too much about it because this won't be going out until after the result. So I don't want to seem like an idiot, but we'll see what happens tonight.
See what happens tonight. Yeah,
we'll see what happens tonight. But obviously since then, since obviously the 66 World Cup onwards, there must be lots of memories, like dear memories in your mind and in your heart about West Ham in terms of the family, the community. Any of them come to mind when you think about it?
Yeah, but obviously you think about this before we speak.
Yeah,
and there's lots. There's there's a memory of my first West Ham game was a neighbour who wasn't keen on me being a West Ham supporter. So, but he was an Evertonian. So he took me to an Everton game, early 70s. We got beat 2-1. But my memory is I got to see Jeff Hurst score a goal. He scored a penalty. And it didn't matter. And I think that set the die for me as a West Ham supporter, going home happy. But the other thing that happened on that day was they opened the gates early, and a lot of scallies came in, young lads. And I had a scarf on, and I got it stolen off me, and they burst my nose, got a bit of a beating. So I learned that day that football wasn't all about the niceties. There was another element to it. But fair play, a couple of scousers chased these kids up the road, got my scarf back, and stuck it up my jumper and said, "Don't get that out until you get home to London." I was thinking, I'm going home to London. So that was my first game. Lots and lots of games. I mean, I even had the audacity once. My mum gave me some money to go shopping when I was a kid, and it was an FA Cup game, January, and I thought, I could go to London on this. I've never even been to London in my life. And off I went. I went and bought a ticket from the turnstile, went in, rang my mum from the phone box afterwards, and she said, "Where the hell are you?" I didn't even know how the tube works. I mean, I got to Euston train station and said to somebody, "How do I get to West Ham?" So, that was memorable. And then I was thinking, on one of them, one great game was obviously the Ipswich game. I dug the programme out. Yeah. And I very, very nearly never went to that. And there's a certain reverend on here, and he told me at the time that I shouldn't mention it, but he got tickets to the director's box, and he found out that I hadn't got tickets, and I ended up in the director's box for that fantastic Ipswich game where we took the roof off the place.
Oh, amazing. What an amazing day that was. You're right. And it's lovely when all the stories, and I think it's a fantastic story about just getting on a train and getting to Euston. Okay. Like Paddington Bear. Like that.
I was, yeah.
Off to West Ham. How do we get there? I love it. No, I love it. And it's true. And I mean, as you said, despite the fact, you're not geographically close to the club, you still get that because of the internet and because of the community. It's just one big family, isn't it? And it's so true what everyone says about it.
I mean, that's the thing about. And I'm so pleased that me and West Ham kind of chose each other, because so many fantastic friends and people, and I've only ever come across a couple of West Ham players fans who got a bit knocked that I was a northerner. I remember once, when we went to Italy and we played that team in pink. I went all the way to Italy.
Palmero.
Yeah, Palmero. And some guys really took exception to me being a northern, because I took a northern supporters banner and put it up, and they got a bit. And then all these other guys came, and there was a few F words passed between our fans, and the flag stayed.
Exactly, and that's what it's about. And it's incredible because obviously, you're part of the Northern Hammers, as you said, the Scandinavian Hammers, and all the different fan groups in the States. Yesterday, I had the privilege of talking to Addy from the Indian Hammers, and honestly, it's like I think I was a bit naive to everything in terms of the fan base, how big it is outside of London and Essex, basically. You know what I mean? And it's incredible, absolutely incredible. The lengths is, I mean, we're going to be posting the Indian one very shortly, actually, because I think it's a fantastic story. You talk about struggles and and as the Upton Park life and the Stop Hammer Time cruise. This bloke trying to get Indian-based West Ham fans. Honestly, the lengths he's gone to, it's incredible. But it's part of the West Ham family, and everyone, doesn't matter where they are in Bangalore or Vegas or Lancashire, everyone supports the same club. I mean, this is I feel weird. This is the first interview I haven't worn a West Ham shirt for, but I don't wear colours when I'm working here. But it's really weird, but it's true. Everyone wears everything that connects it is that badge on your shirt, isn't it? It's crazy when you think about that.
Yeah, and there's so much love for the club, and all the hard times that we've been through, and all the promises, and but it's the people. It's the people.
Yeah. No, it is indeed. And that's obviously what we do. So we find out about your journey and your memories, but then we do this 11 and the Hammers 11, and everyone has their own individual Hammers. Now, I believe we have a slightly interesting theme for your one, Gary.
I thought, because I've watched lots of these, and lots of players have come up, and I thought, why don't I do a Northern Hammers, but artistic license, because obviously it's a bit difficult. So Wales counts.
Yeah.
Scotland, because my last name's Stewart, and so there's a number of great Scottish players that have played for us. So I kind of tried to make it a Northern Hammers 11.
Yeah, I love it. It's funny. We had Irish Tommy on the other day, and he tried to do an Irish 11, and he got stuck at 10, and then because obviously he had to have seen them as well, so it's really even harder. And then as soon as he stopped recording, he thought of another 15. It's like the pressure was off, and he was like, "Oh, I forgot about David Kelly. I forgot about I don't know. He's I could have put Declan Rice at centre half, and then I love it. It's brilliant, and I think
I did another one just of all Scottish players, and I was going to call it the Iron Brew Hammers. So that might be something that somebody wants to follow through with.
I'll come back to you, Gary, when I'm struggling for people, but no, that's brilliant. Right, let's get this Northern Hammers 11 up. Who's in goal for the Northern Hammers?
I've gone for Bobby Ferguson because he was my first keeper. And there's always lots of talk about when Phil Parkes came in, and obviously Bobby was then let go because of that. And we all know the fantastic fee that we paid for Phil Parkes, and he is one of my favourite keepers. But Bobby was actually the most expensive goalkeeper in the world when he came to us, 65k. So I think that story always gets lost because the next one along took that. And the other thing I found out about him, because we all do research on these players, I didn't realise that when he was in the reserves and wasn't playing because there was Mervyn Day as well of his time, he actually played on the wing in reserves, which I think is kind of like that Les Sealy thing, isn't it? Playing on the wing with keepers. So Bobby Ferguson, obviously Scottish, but my first keeper of following West Ham back, so I put him in the pegs.
Yeah, no, and funny, I didn't really know much about Bobby Ferguson until the other day. I interviewed Richard Digest, and he spoke of Bobby Ferguson, and the reason, and because obviously we signed him from Hibernian, and part of the deal was to have a testimony, an exhibition match, West Ham versus Hibernian, and he turned out for Hibernian. And in 1955, whenever it was, and he let in 7 goals. And he came out in all red. Keepers were yellow or green, and he looked like a pillar box. Richard was saying, and let in 7 goals. And so, bless him, he tried, but he didn't start very well for him there. But it's funny. All these stories are coming out. Playing on the wing, absolutely fantastic. As you said, Les Sealy and David James obviously did it as well, didn't he? Going up front and it's lovely. I love the stories.
Okay.
No, go on. You was going to say, man.
No, I just think it's funny. West Ham and keepers playing outfield positions.
But it's the other way around as well. I remember Julian going in goal. Bobby Moore went in goal, I believe, when he needed to. And I love it. It's a fantastic. It's fantastic listening to all these stories. So we put Bobby Ferguson. Let's go for your next play. You go as you go through the team sheet as you want to.
Well, I've got Alvin Martin.
Yeah.
I picked Alvin because I'd love to pick Alvin for tonight's game if ever play. And the number of games he played for us, and he was always one of those players as I followed West Ham through the 70s. He picked himself, didn't he? Practically constantly all the time. And he was just in that magical team for me when football and banter at school was, he was, and as hard as nails as well at times, So yeah, Alvin Martin.
Yeah. And he's one of those adopted Cockneys, isn't he? Really, he still lives around the area. Hasn't lost his accent despite being in London for so many years. Still a Scouser. But you're right, he's a fantastic, and he'll probably be here today. He'll probably be covering one of the. He usually is actually. He usually sits over there. So yeah, he'll be here, but he won't be on the pitch. I know what you mean. A few of those 80 and 86 boys we could do with next couple of games. That's for sure. All right, Alvin's in. Who's next?
Okay, so going across, I picked James Collins.
Yeah.
He's Welsh, but if ever you wanted a player on the park to do a job for you, I remember. Oh, excuse me, I'll just switch that off.
That's right.
I remember an away game at Liverpool when Suarez was on fire, and the cop was just convinced he was going to score at any minute, and James had him in his pocket all game. It was just magical to watch, And when you were down at the end, and all the Mickey Mouses were giving you, and he was just, we were singing back to them, and James we just kept looking around and laughing at us. But another little side story. This season when we played West Brom, I took a client and we did some of the corporates, and James was in corporate with Carlton Cole, and then James came out with his family, wife and kids, and obviously it was a bit cold for them, so they went back inside, and he said, "Can I come and join you boys?" So we sat and we were watching the game with James Collins. And when you sit with a player, a professional footballer, you realise you know nothing about football. From what you see as a fan, he was seeing a completely different game, and he would point. I'm not going to mention who he pointed at, but he would say, "See that guy there?" I say, "Yeah, he's not a footballer."
Yeah.
And I'd look at him and I'd go, "Really?" Yeah. And then he would tell me why he wasn't a footballer. So I'm not gonna embarrass him and say who he said. But it was just to sit with a guy like that as a professional, and obviously from the position that he played, he just sees the game very different to me, or probably a lot of fans. And I felt very humble and walked away thinking, what do I know?
What an experience! That's a fantastic, such a unique experience.
Yeah, and he was lovely afterwards. He made sure that I got my program signed, and he came over and spoke to my client who'd come down, who was retiring from work. So lovely man, lovely man.
Brilliant. Yeah, and he's a lovely guy, isn't he? And again, adopted Cockney, another one, and he just gets the club, and the club love him. And I think even more so the second spell when he came back, it seemed to be more Alvin Martin-esque. You know what I mean? He was like more rugged and just matured, and no, I loved him. Okay,
GP, I think on that second time back, I think he embraced the fans more, and knew that he was absolutely loved and loved us back. And I think that's all part of being a West Ham player, isn't it? Yeah.
That's all we want. That's all we need.
That's all it is.
We're in 100%. That's all you got to do. Okay, so Colin's in. Who's next?
Now this is an interesting one because I picked Bobby Moore. Obviously, because I'm a West Ham fan, but everybody's going to go, he's from Barking. He can't be. He can't be. Well, here's the story. So when I was a kid, I had a neighbour who used to take me to Blackburn Rovers, and I hated going. I hated them. I was a hammer, and she made me do the really indignant thing of crawling under the turnstile so she didn't have to pay for me. To me, that was really indignant. I had to go on my knees to watch Blackburn Rovers. So I absolutely despised them. But every other week she would take me, and she gave up after about season. And so why is Bobby there? So there's me, a kid living in Blackburn. I love West Ham. So what happens is, by a real twist of fate, on the 14th of May 1977, Bobby Moore came back as a Fulham player and played his very last professional game at Ewood Park. And I felt that Bobby had come back for one game for me, even though he was in a Fulham shirt. So he's an honorary Northern West Ham supporter, just for playing his very last game at Ewood Park. So that's why Bobby Moore's there.
Absolutely brilliant. Love it. No, I love it. It's so brilliant. I love the poetic justice and license. It's brilliant.
Right. And over on the other side, I've gone for Ray Stewart.
Yeah.
I mean, again, another one of those players that went through that period, late 70s into the 80s. And probably him and Alvin would pick each other. They always seemed to be in the team. It was they were great days and some great games there.
Oh, definitely. And as you said, it was just a team which, to be fair, always picked itself. To be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was back then. Yeah,
and just amazing to see, and also how like all those players like Ray Stewart and people like that, just so like down to earth and so like open and kind, and they're just lovely blokes. They're all lovely guys.
And I think I've watched a lot of these back, and I think the thing that everybody says is that they all still ring each other. They're all still buddies. That doesn't happen today, but they're all, they were all from that certain period of time at West Ham. So yeah, definitely, Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, he's him.
Okay,
who's next?
Right. So I'm going to go from this side, and I picked Pop Robson. I mean, Pop Robson was just an absolute star for me when I was a kid. He always seemed to score. And I always thought he was, because at that time when I was at school, a lot of kids supported Man United. And, Bobby Charlton had a bald head and scored a lot of goals, and Pop Robson had a bald head and scored a lot of goals. I just thought he was always my Pop Robson, And when I used to check the Daily Mirror, it would used to say, Brian Pop Robson, scored, and the other interesting thing from the Norwich game last, wasn't he one of the last players to score there for us in a win or something? I think I heard somebody say. Yeah, but a prolific goal scorer, and just one of those legendary West Ham players. So, and another Northerner.
Yes, another Northerner. And you're right. I think he gets a little bit lost in the wash, so to speak. Pop Robson does, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's what's great about this channel. These players are getting a new, audience, a new sort of shout out, so to speak, and it's lovely to see. All right, Pop's in. Who's next?
A Scouser again, Kevin Nolan. I was living at the time when we went up, and I was living around people who schooled him, so I got a good insight into him. But I think Nolan came in at a time where we were absolutely rudderless from the previous captain. I think we'd lost the dressing room, and he came in and he reinvented us for us. He gave us a backbone and a spine, and ever indebted to him for that period of time. I know a lot of people go, oh yeah, well he was an Allardyce, but for what he did for us in that period of time, he gave us some metal back. He gave us, and you could tell that the nonsense had gone out the dressing room when he came. So has to be Kevin Nolan.
No, you're totally right.
And scored some great goals, and that fantastic goal celebration.
You know what? I can't believe Antonio hasn't done it. Norwich, he'd scored his fourth goal. He could have just gone straight over there and done that, and it would have been absolutely brilliant. And I don't know why he hasn't done it yet. It's made for him to do. But, obviously, it's great that he's here as well. I just think he has brought this extra bit of steel to that sort of management team.
I think so. Yeah.
And I mean, you saw the impact he made when I think it was the Southampton game was the first game he was he was with Boise, and it just gives another voice and maybe a younger voice as well, which is important. But no, I'm a big fan of Nolan's. Fantastic, one of our best captains in my era that I've seen at West Ham.
And I think younger players like Declan can because he's here, I've got so much to learn from him. He can. So that's great.
Yeah. All right, Kevin's in. Who's next?
I've gone for Bishop.
Bishop. Love Bishop. Honestly, I love the man. He's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, again, he was just one of those free-flowing players. Whenever he got the ball at his feet, you just always thought something was going to happen with him. And I just got memories of just tearing up people, and.
He's just, and it was part of that era for me, which was my favourite era. Just that, him, and that he represents that era of him and Mad Dog and Monks and all that lot. It was just like, I just think it was a lovely era, because that was probably the last era I can think where West Ham players, or football in general, the players were relatable. I have seen Bish in the pub, and I have seen Monks, but I haven't seen Sebastian Haller or Lanzini in the local Weatherspoons, or it's just a different
generation
now. It's like different.
Again, just on that, being a Northern Hammer. A guy called Norman Collins used to run it, and Liam now runs it, which you've done with. But we were very privileged that we got to meet the team once a year, up until about Allardyce coming in. So one away game, we got to meet the players. So that was a great insight as well. And Harry stood at the bar holding court and buying everybody a drink. And so we were privileged. So sometimes not being down in London, we got some little extra privileges,
Yeah. No, it makes sense. That makes total sense. Right, okay. Bish Bosch is in. Who's next?
Snodgrass.
Oh, I love him. Oh, man.
Yeah, what a man. And there's a number of things. He's a fantastic player. I'm half hoping he's on the team sheet tonight. If not, I'm really hoping he's on the Villa team sheet, because I've got this romantic idea that we're going to be held to the wire tonight, and it's going to go to the Villa game, and I think he's going to go 77 minutes in, and Snoddy's going to pop one in, and he's going to run to the halfway line, look at the director's box, and point to his name on the back of the shirt and say, "I've just saved you 300 million."
Yeah.
Especially the way that he got treated off certain people that'll be sat in that box. I just got that. I'd love that to happen, whether he does or not. I mean, he's got to play against Villa because they absolutely loved him at Villa, but I think he's going to come out and I think he's going to take the game to them. So I really hope that he's fit for the Villa game.
And obviously, until Bowen, like in the last two games, it's like we've desperately missed his set pieces, and although Bowen seems to have found this left foot and can do an amazing corner, but that was Snoddy when he curled these corners in, particularly down in this corner. You'd see him curl them in, and he just, I think honestly, if we'd had him in the last few games, I don't think it would have been so close to the wire, because I just think you can see how the team sorts out. You've got Souček, you've got Rice, and one other. And sometimes I think Snoddy in that one other role would just run and run and run. And that's what we need now. It's about commitment. And I think he brings it every game. And
he does. And that's all you ever ask for from a West Ham player is that commitment. There's so many games that we've all been to that we've lost badly, but the team have been committed in certain players, and you walk away with that.
Yeah.
So Snoddy's one of those players.
Yeah, no, totally. No, yeah, it's a good shout. Okay, up front then. Who are we going to get the goals for this team then, Gary?
It's going to be McAvenny, hasn't it? Picking a Scottish player. So it's Frank, and he had everything. Prolific goal scorer, playboy off the park. He was everything you would want as a young lad of a forward to be. And some of the goals that he scored for us were just incredible. He had a great partnership. So, and the other thing, I got a slight connection as well, because his first team was St Mirren, and I've got an uncle. Because half of my family is Scottish, and my uncle played for St Mirren as a forward.
Oh, wow.
and was a prolific goal scorer. So there's a little bit of a sort of connection with, and that's why I had to put McAvenny in that team.
Yeah. And as you said, an absolute gent of a guy, an amazing, a beautiful, beautiful personality. And it's funny because you know how we always say, that footballers always play golf all the time. He does. He actually does. Literally, when I tried to organise the interview with him, every time I called him, he's either on the golf course, coming back from the golf course, or he'd had a shit round and didn't want to talk because he had a shit round. And it's like, it's so true what they say. And oh no, I love him. So much time for the man. It can at times it can be quite intimidating interviewing your heroes, really. And for him, it was just like talking to a mate. It really was. And he just put you at ease, and we had a giggle, and we must have chatted for about 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And I kept saying, "Look, can we start recording, Frank? Because I want to keep some of this. Because you're going to say it again." You go, "I say it a million times. I don't care, But no, lovely guy. Right, okay. Frank's in. Who's the final piece to this Stewart pie?
Well, a northerner not too far away from me, Ashton-under-Lyne, and an absolute hero, not just of West Ham, but of the '66 squad, Jeff Hurst.
Yeah.
The only man to score left, right with his head in a World Cup. He was part of the Holy Trinity, part of the Greenwood setup. And I just learned something this morning. Mid '60s, he didn't play at the start of the season because he was playing cricket. And apparently, he nearly became a professional cricketer. As soon as I found that out today, I learned, and again, he didn't come to us as a forward, but has become, a national treasure.
Yeah.
And like I said, my first game of seeing him score was at Everton, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter that we got beat, as long as I saw my first score, and that memory will be there. But other fantastic goals, and what can you say about him?
What can you say? I had a wee in the toilet next to him once.
Yeah.
That's my claim to fame. It was in between Sir Jeff Hurst and Sir Clive Woodward, and I was in the middle, like a rose between two thorns, some may say. No, brilliant man, and then again, a lovely guy, absolutely lovely guy. And you're right. I've been watching a lot more older football recently because more of research. Listening to guys like yourselves talking about these players so nicely, and he scored some fantastic goals.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic goals.
Yeah, and it's just part of that magical thing that I think will live on from time immemorial. It will always be remembered. It was nice when we were at the Old Ground to go to the museum and see both Jeff's, Martin's, and Bobby's medals all together. The World Cup medals. And you look at that as a West Ham fan, and you think, wow, no team's ever done that, and that's a little bit specialness, isn't it?
And we'll always have that. It's not what happens, what league we're in. We'll always have that, And I think you're right.
Again, living in, I've just recently lived in Liverpool for 10 years, and again, you would go previous to the 6th European Championship. The Scousers would go and wind you up that they'd won 5, and just West Ham boys singing back, "We won the World Cup. We won the fucking World Cup."
So true. It's so
There's
true.
no comeback. There's no comeback from that.
There's nothing you can say, Gary. There's nothing you can say. You're
Yeah.
right, and it's totally true. But we will always have that. We've always got it in our pocket, haven't we?
Absolutely. Listen, Russ, I hope it's a fantastic game. You're there. I hope you have a great game tonight. I hope we get those 3 points. It will be magical if we do. I don't want to go to the wire and be biting my nails and all those what ifs. So let's put it to bed tonight.
Let's put it to bed tonight. We'll have a good game. We'll have whatever happens, we're West Ham, aren't we? We just carry on, and it is what it is. Thank you so much for your time, Gary. I really, really appreciate your time. And obviously, thanks everyone for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that great stuff. And for me and Gary, take care. See you all soon. And come with your irons. Come with your irons. Let's get it done. Cheers, everyone. See you. Bye-bye.